Am I the a-hole for refusing to come clean and ruining my ex-husband's relationship? I, 42 female, divorced my ex-husband Chad, 42 male, for cheating with his current wife Rebecca, 30 female, a few years back. I'll spare the details, but basically something Chad did set off alarm bells. So I did some snooping and discovered a paper trail that led me to Rebecca. I was furious and hurt, but instead of confronting him about it then, I waited and collected evidence. I found Rebecca on social media and joined one of the online clubs she was in. We had the same interests, so it wouldn't be that big of a red flag if either Chad or Rebecca found out, and I just played it cool. I waited until after our youngest was in school so I could get a part-time job and got Chad to pay for my certification so I could get a better job. During this time, he would go on trips, book hotels, buy gifts, etc. with a secret account that I was able to access because I know Chad well enough to guess his passwords and that he only sets his alerts when someone tries to use it. After I had moved certain things out of the house without his knowledge and convinced him to take his name off of my car, I handed him the divorce papers of the hotel lobby he was in waiting for Rebecca. I had tons of pictures of them together, but only showed 3 of them when he tried to deny, and 2 more to his family when he tried to send them after me. Chad was up for a big promotion, so I told him that we could either get this divorce over with, or I could kick up a fuss, which would make his employers reconsider his position. After I made it clear that I didn't want any alimony and that he could keep his retirement, we went our separate ways. Shortly after that, Rebecca got pregnant and they got married, and she aggravates to no end. But since my kids never complained, I was willing to just suck it up. Then recently, Rebecca decided to get a little arrogant and publicly criticized my parenting because my child didn't do so well at the end of the school year and how she'd raise her child to be smart. In the heat of the moment, along with some built-up anger, I lied and said it wasn't very smart of her to tip off the wife that she was the affair partner. Chad wasn't there, but his mom and sister were, and he called me that night to ask about it. He always wondered how I found out, and instead of telling the truth, I said that Rebecca was the one who tipped me off with the photos and told me when/where they'd be. And for some strange reason, Chad asked me to keep our kids for the whole summer, which I was willing to do in exchange for getting them on Christmas. I heard a few weeks later that Chad and Rebecca didn't have a very good summer. Rebecca has been messaging constantly about this, but if it doesn't have anything to do with my kids, I'm silent mode. I was talking to my brother about this, and he thinks that while it's understandable why I lied, that it was still wrong. But since I don't care about Rebecca or Chad, I have to ask, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Should have taken his retirement and alimony. We were a strong middle class, and I wasn't out of work for that very long. The alimony wouldn't be much, and it puts as little as possible in his retirement, at least while we were married, and has never been much of a long-term saver. Plus, after pretending not to know for over a year, I was ready for it all to be over. Fighting for alimony would have just drawn it all out. Rebecca is fine with people lying. She cheerfully spread her legs for a man who was lying to another woman about their family life. So obviously she gets off on dishonesty. Since Rebecca loves it when people lie, she has nothing to complain about now. In fact, you're to be applauded for giving her life a much-needed missing zing around lies in a relationship. Not a-hole. I'm reminded of the post where the ex called the guy to her home during the time when the affair partner turned wife was in labor, and then sent the CCTV cam footage of him entering her place to his wife, asking whether he changed his clothes before holding his kid. Needless to say, everything exploded. Not the a-hole. They cheated. So of course they don't trust each other. She not only got with a married man, but is also criticizing you. Not fair. Yeah, when 2 cheaters get together, it never ends well. They both know what they were capable of, and there's never truly trust. A cheater leaving their partner doesn't mean the affair partner won. It just means there is a new job opening for a fair partner. Next story. Am I the a-hole for being very upset that my wife is helping her friend cheat on her husband? A while ago, my wife and her friend went on a weekend trip, which seemed fine. Turns out, the friend didn't really want to go on the trip. She was meeting a guy, her best friend, her soulmate. Apparently, these 2 have been messaging each other for years. My wife didn't know this, but obviously found out about it and told me. But she just ignored it because it wasn't our business. We didn't tell the husband. It was a weird WTF kind of thing. I do not know the husband at all. I barely know his friend. I was thinking, not my circus, not my monkeys. So here's the thing. The friend asked my wife to go on another trip and that she will pay, probably around $3,000, for the sole purpose of cheating on her husband again. My wife was gleefully ecstatic about going on a free trip. She will be the alibi for her friend cheating. Am I the a-hole for being outraged, feeling betrayed, feeling that our marriage is a freaking joke, and frankly wanting to end it? If her and the girls make such a farce of marriage and help each other out and cover for each other cheating, what the heck is our marriage? I am seriously considering telling my wife that she can make her own decisions, but they have consequences. And when she returns for the Bangfest cheating weekend, the locks will be changed, and the divorce papers will be pinned to the front door. Yep, 100%. Also, tell the husband. Now. Cheaters suck and people who abet them are just as bad. Yeah, if your wife can help her friend cheat, seems fair you can tell the hubby. I wouldn't be surprised if his wife is already cheating on him, not the a-hole. So when the wife says going for a girls' trip with cheater, she goes alone. Maybe her girls' trip is a tryst as well. This was the first thing I thought. OP's wife's alibi is that she's helping a friend cheat. She wouldn't have been so honest if she were up to something. I'd let her go. While they're gone, change the lock, post the divorce papers on the door, have her stuff moved to a storage unit and leave key and address with divorce papers. And tell the friend's husband. Lol, OP can call wife on speaker with friend's husband present and ask, so how's the cheating going? My guess is it's a double date this time. What makes you think it was the last time? Dude, try this. Satiate my curiosity. Pretend to be cool with it for a single conversation. Tell her you're clearing your schedule to join her on this trip. Pretend to be excited about going in her free vacation. Shouldn't be an issue since the friend will be with her affair partner, right? If she gets weird about it, then you have bigger questions to ask. I think she might be throwing you a red herring. I think she's the cheater and has always been. Do you have any evidence from the friend that says otherwise? I think she set the stage to ease your suspicions for later trips. Logically, who pays $3,000 for a cover story? Or is your wife creating a believable scenario that explains why her trips is paid for? It's being paid for by the dude she's banging, brother. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling the husband of a woman I hooked up with? Yes, I am the affair partner, but before you all bite my head off, hear me out. I, 28 male, hooked up with a woman, 30 female that I met at a bar one night. After a very long and stressful week at work, a coworker and I wanted to go work out some stress by having a few beers at a bar near work. It was late when we finally got out of work, and it was a Friday, so there was a bit of a crowd, but it wasn't packed. All I wanted to do was have a couple beers and go home. But almost as soon as we sat down at the bar, my coworker started talking to a group of women that were next to us. I didn't really participate, but I chimed in every now and then. Eventually, one of the women of the group came and sat next to me. We started talking, ignoring the rest of them. You might be asking, how could you not tell she was married? Didn't she wear a ring? No, she wasn't. It might sound weird, but I make sure to look so I can decide if I want something more with a woman or not. If I see a ring, I don't even try. You might also ask, did she hint at any sort of a relationship she might be in? No, we had basic conversations, like what we did for work or things we do in our free time. Finally, you might ask, did her friends try to separate us or hint at you to stop? Again, no. They all seemed to be happy for her smiling at us. Eventually, we went back to my house and hooked up that night. Now, you might say, oh, she was drunk, and she must have felt guilty or ashamed in the morning after. Nope. And I know that, because she asked for my number and left with a smile, and told me she would text me later. At this point, I just thought I had a fun night with a great woman. Later that day, we started texting pretty casually. For the next 2 weeks, we just texted back and forth. We made a date to go back to the bar and see each other again. We sat down at the bar for 2 drinks, and then she asked if I wanted to go back to her place. I, of course, said yes, and away we went. At her house, there were a few things that made me suspicious, but I put it in the back of my mind. There were small things like a man's coat and a pair of shoes at the door. What made me put it in the back of my mind was near the door was a bunch of pictures of her family, and there was none of her and a guy, so I thought it was maybe an ex or a male family member things. Things started to spark between us and we took it to the bedroom. She went into her bathroom and got ready, but I see her closet door was open and inside was a ton of men's clothes. So much so that it was obvious that a man lives here. I shouted in panic that I had called from work and I had to go. I apologized and got out of there. Every possible thought ran through my head, but it all came back to she must have been using me to cheat. At first, I didn't know what to do. I realized I hardly knew her. I didn't have any of her socials, and besides some texts throughout the day, we didn't call or FaceTime. All I knew was her name and where she worked, and that I needed to tell the guy what happened. I looked all over social media, but there was nothing. I went to her work's website and found out she gave me a false last name, and then found her and her husband on social media. At this point, I almost relented, thinking if I told him I might ruin a family. But I quickly came to my senses and messaged him. The message was, "Hi, you don't know me, but 2 weeks ago I slept with your wife. At the time, I did not know she was a married woman. Last night we made a date to go to the bar and ended up at your house. I noticed some of your things around the house and left as soon as it clicked in my brain that she was married. If you need me, reach me at my number." He hasn't messaged me back, but she and her friends have blown up my phone for the past 2 days, saying I'm wrecking a marriage. Morally, I think I'm in the right, but am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Lol, that's hilarious that they say you're wrecking her marriage. That's like getting a speeding ticket for going 100 miles per hour and blaming the cop for messing up your driving report. Not the a-hole, and good on you, brother. That's because her friends have likely cheated as well, but they keep that in their inner circle. They don't ever think some rando dude at the bar would ever out them. Her taking him back to her house and then claiming still he's wrecking a marriage is next level for the street psycho. I wish I could be there when she tries to convince the husband it's his fault. Not the a-hole. You are not wrecking the marriage. The possibly ex-wife is. Exactly. It's amazing how people justify and spin the truth to suit them. Not the a-hole. You did the right thing. If he trusted her, you saved him from wasting his time. I'm sure anyone would like a heads up that their significant other is being unfaithful. She's the a-hole. Her friends are the a-holes. Although there may be two sides to every story. She still put you in harm's way. People get killed over stuff like this. At least you know he'll never catch you and shoot your head off your shoulders. I'd buy you a beer if I was him. Reminds me of that woman who was cheating on her husband, got caught, told her husband he was violating her and the husband offed the guy. And because she lied, he didn't get convicted of a crime, but I think / hope she did. You mean the husband walked in on them? Or he went out, found a guy, and offed him? The story I remember is he showed up at home unexpectedly, and his wife was nagging the dude in front of the house in front of the affair guy's truck. The husband walked up and saw, and in a panic, she yelled she was being violated and jumped off the guy, who was then promptly fatally shot by husband who thought he was defending his wife. Last story. My sister told me that she and my fiancé were having an affair before his death. So about a month ago, my 25 female fiancé, 27 male, had unfortunately gotten killed in a car crash. It was devastating for everyone, especially since me and him were going to have our wedding in September of this year and was planning on buying a new house together next year. It was like everything I had dreamed of had come true before it all came crashing down. Of course, I haven't been taking it well and just been staying in bed, not wanting to talk to anyone, on some occasions drinking myself to sleep. But today, my friends had managed to give me the courage to finally go outside after nearly 4 weeks of just staying indoors. I'll admit, I wasn't looking forward to it, but I did have a good time with them, and even got a smile on my face for the first time ever since my fiancé's death. But when I came back home and walked into the living room, that's when I saw my sister, 22 female, in my wedding dress. Music playing in the background while she was looking at herself in the mirror with obvious tears down her face. When she noticed me, immediately she screamed at me to get out. But I stood my ground and refused until she explained herself. That's when she broke down and told me that before my fiancé's death, her and him had been having an affair and that they were planning on running away together before the wedding. When she told me all of that, I started to have a panic attack and ran to lock myself in my room. She did try and get me out so she could explain herself more, but what on earth is there more to explain? I feel sick even writing this, to be honest. I don't want to look at her. I don't want anything to do with her, and all I've been doing is crying all day. This year has honestly been the worst in my entire life, and I seriously don't know what to do. Hold on, don't just believe her immediately. Try to get some proof first, otherwise she is just slandering him. That part. Go through his phone. This affair could have been one-sided. I wouldn't just take her word for it. This. I had a friend who was dating someone for 2 to 3 months without that person knowing. Oh word. My manager fired a guy because he was going around telling everyone he had been sleeping with me for years and that my then girlfriend at the time had stolen me from him. Spoiler alert, he was a lunatic. Not the a-hole. I am so sorry that happened to you. There could also be another side of this story that maybe she was in love with your fiancé and those feelings were not reciprocated. He's no longer here to defend himself. Before I would fully believe her that he betrayed you, I would look through his phone for proof. I don't know that I would believe anything she says without actual proof. If it's not on his devices, surely would be on hers. Definitely tell your parents ASAP and go no contact with her regardless. Just to play devil's advocate, it's still possible that maybe she had a thing for him and those feelings were a one-way thing. I don't have his phone with him unfortunately, but I'm not sure how I'd be able to gain access to her phone as it has a password. The no contact part would be very hard to do, to be honest, since we've been close to each other since the beginning, and I still love her. But at the same time, I still just want to hurt her for what she had told me. You really should try and find proof before you fully believe her. Ask her for it directly. If she doesn't want to show it to you, then that's enough of an indication that what she's saying is likely not true. Think about the situation. She's standing in your wedding dress looking at herself in a mirror and then tells you how they wanted to run away and get married. It doesn't sound realistic. Why would they be running away? Coincidental as well that they would be getting married, etc. Just don't trust what she's saying just because they were close. He might have just been kind to her as she's your sister, and she probably hoped for more.